Hello, everyone. Mona Munyani here. I am the CEO of the Power of Wellness movement, an initiative that aims to help us prioritize our wellness one conversation at a time. And today I'm very excited to be joined by two powerful women as we discuss an important issue, our menstrual health. So following the findings of a Free State case study that states that we have hormone changing chemicals in our menstrual pads. What does that mean for us? But most importantly, what are the alternatives that we can explore to prioritize our physical wellness? Ladies, how are you doing today?
We're good. Thank you, Mona. Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Ruth Apostolov, and I am CEO of the She Power Medical Manufacturing, as well as the founder of the She Power Foundation.
And you know we can't have this conversation without a professional medical voice also jumping in and giving us more info. And that is where we come to Sister Lungi. Sister Lungi, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sister Lungi, otherwise known as Lungi Lekamete. I'm a midwife, professional nurse as well. Also the founder of WithSis, which is an educare movement that really just uses the biopsychosocial spiritual model of health for women and also just aims to educate as well.
So we've got a room filled with powerful women who are ready to help you understand what your alternatives are. I would like us to just recap, especially for me as a mother who has to explain what menstruation is to my 9-year-old. Let's go through it, shall we, Sis Lungi?
Yeah, sure. So women's bodies, or just, our bodies in general, are very, very beautiful. I would love to just debunk the myth also that is out there that says that, as a menstruator, you are unfortunate. No, that is not the case. So basically what your body prepares to do every single cycle is to have a baby. Okay. So we have four different
Four cycles.
stages.
I see you have some posters there.
This is stage 1 of the menstrual cycle. So what basically happens during menstruation, otherwise known as the period, right? What had been happening is that the lining had been thickening, just to create that cushiony environment for the possible, implantation of the baby. And so during the menstruation phase, what happens is that lining begins to shed. Okay, so the shedding of this lining, which comes out then through our vaginas, we see as blood, is called the period. Okay, and then we have stage 2, which is the follicular stage, right? So follicular stage is basically when the ovaries, right? So inside the ovaries, there are eggs. Okay, in simpler terms, these eggs during the follicular stage, they begin to develop, they begin to mature, and yeah, I think I'll summarize at the end of the cycle, right? Just which hormones actually govern, because this whole entire cycle is governed by hormones, okay?
Yes.
So that's stage 2, the follicular stage. And then we have stage 3, right? Which is like somewhat the middle part of the cycle, which happens roughly around, on average, the textbook says day 14, but it could be day 15 of the cycle, or even 13. It varies for every woman. And what happens here is that the egg, right, that had been developing, that had been maturing during the follicular stage, begins to be released, okay, ready to be fertilized. Okay, so this is where we get so energized as women. Like our energy levels are at our peak. We are just bouncy, vibrant. Even our skin shows. We have a glow.
Is that glow week?
We feel very confident. We have that bounce. So that is ovulation. Okay, very healthy for us as well as women to actually ovulate. And then we have the luteal stage, right? Which is the last stage of the menstrual cycle. What characterizes the stage is that the lining begins to thicken. Okay, it begins to become very cushiony and lined with a lot of blood vessels, right? Particularly the endometrium lining of the menstrual cycle. And then we start again with stage 1, where that lining begins to shed, which is the period. Okay, so that's basically what happens to to menstruate.
Sure. So it's not that simple. It's not just about menstruating. It is the whole cycle, these hormonal changes that we go through. And in the study, I mean, they said we are being affected by the products that we use. So you say that there is a hormone that leads the menstrual cycle. Could you take us into that? What are the hormones that are activated during our cycle? And how are these chemicals affecting them negatively?
We have, I like to call it a festival of hormones, as women, because it's a lot.
It is a lot.
We have a lot of
Mhm.
them. And, just to not also demonize it, because a lot of women are just like, oh no, you're hormonal, and just think of it as like
Curse.
a curse,
Mm.
because one minute you're like this. No, it's not. We are a festival. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the estrogen hormone, okay? And then secondly, we also have the progesterone hormone.
Mhm.
We also have the luteinizing stimulating hormone, which is also otherwise known as the LSH hormone.
Mhm.
And then we also have the FSH hormone, which means the follicle stimulating hormone, okay?
All right.
So the first two pretty much, give it away what they're responsible for, given the explanation that we've just done on the menstrual cycle, right? And then we have estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone, which is responsible for, it's the leading hormone when a woman is pregnant, right? And then estrogen is what's responsible really for our characteristic human female features, like the
Mhm.
wider hips, the breast development. Then going back to your question, Mona, the study revealed that, there are certain endocrine disruptors or hormone disruptors, right, that have been found in some of our menstrual care products. And the three groups that were investigated were phthalates,
Mhm.
bisphenols, including BPA, as well as parabens. Okay.
Maybe just for those who are questioning, why should I be concerned? What are the effects of long-term exposure, high levels of these superficial hormones in our systems? What would that lead to?
Over a long period of time, it puts a woman's body into a state of estrogen dominance, which is associated with a whole lot of other, symptoms and conditions as well, including, heavy menstrual bleeding, including dysmenorrhea, otherwise known as period pains,
Mhm.
secondary dysmenorrhea, which is associated with, conditions such as uterine fibroids or endometriosis, irregular menstrual cycles where, 1 month you on your period and the next month you're not.
Mm.
Or maybe your period lasts, for a long time, like you're bleeding for 2 weeks and it's excruciating pain as well associated with that. As well as, over a long time, exposure to these chemicals can also lead to certain types of cancers,
Sure.
such as breast cancer, ovarian cancer. The other condition that is also closely linked with, overexposure to these endocrine disruptors includes polycystic ovarian syndrome, otherwise known as PCOS. Okay.
Thank you. No, I think that gives us a scope on how serious this issue is and why we are here today to really try and empower ourselves and figure out what are the alternatives. And that's what brings us to Ruth. What exactly brought you to start this movement? Was it also because you understood that there are so many dangers that come with some of the products that we use, or was it a bigger social issue that led you to manufacturing your own menstrual cups?
There has been global reports that have come out over the years that have spoken about the chemicals in the single-use products. But I think what makes this different is that the studies come out of a local academic body. So it's a local peer review. So to answer the question as to how, I had an incident over COVID with a little girl that was begging for 5 rand, and all she wanted was, she was short of 5 rand to buy a pack of pads. And I realized I needed to find out what exists in the 21st century that is sustainable, that is cost effective, that is an healthier option, and that's more friendly to the environment. So in my deep diving, I discovered there was no one in South Africa that was actually manufacturing a menstrual cup. And that led me to find out, what is the process? How was it done? And I did a whole lot of deep diving. A pad and a tampon is a regular consumer feminine product, which means there is regulatory standards. However, a menstrual cup is a class 2 medical device, which means right from raw material to the manufacturing, to the packaging, to the biological testing, every single part of that process has got to be in the most sterile medical environment. We are talking a completely different class of medical product here, Mona. And we're talking medical silicone, which is the same kind of medical silicone. The formula might be slightly different in the methodology of producing it, but the medical silicone is the same medical silicone that we live with breast implants. We live with people that have gastric sleeves that have to have this, the gastric sleeve, the pessary ring, that's also medical silicone. So the point of the conversation is the body does not see it as a foreign object. It's biocompatible to the body, to the structure, to the organs, to the anatomy in general.
This is very exciting. Ruth, I'm seeing on the table here a few items that you brought for us, but you get to see as well what the menstrual cup is about. I did post the unboxing of this menstrual cup and I got a lot of feedback from ladies who were very apprehensive about using it. How do you insert it? Will it leak? How do you clean yourself in a public restroom? So I know that you want to find out all of these details.
So just so that we understand the approximate amounts of blood we lead. When I say approximate, so a light bleeder for an entire period, a light bleeder for 5 to 7 days would bleed up to 20 milliliters of blood.
The entire period?
Entire period.
Monday to Friday?
Yes, ma'am. So when we talk blood, we're not talking a little bit of tissue, a little bit of mucus, Sister Lungi can correct me, and a little bit of other good sheddings that come out with it. But when we're talking blood quantity. So a light bleeder will bleed about 20 milliliters.
Wow.
Right. A regular bleeder, like myself, will bleed about 40 milliliters of blood. So to give it context, 40 milliliters is 2 tablespoons. A heavy bleeder will bleed about 80 milliliters of blood. 80 milliliters is 4 tablespoons. And then you get the very, very heavy menstrual bleeder, 80 milliliters onwards to 200 milliliters, which is still less than 1 cup. So just to give you context that we women don't understand that we bleed less than we think we bleed. And I'm going to tell you why we think so. When we take a tampon and when we absorb it.
Shoo. I feel some women are going, I know that feeling.
I can tell you. So while this is just absorbed a tablespoon of blood,
it feels much more.
It feels like it is much more.
Look at that.
And now we're going to do the same exercise. And we're going to do it into our menstrual cup here. As you would have seen, a pad and a tampon absorbs the blood.
Yes.
A menstrual cup collects the blood. So that's a beautiful thing about a menstrual cup. You know, they always say, growing up, we were always told there's life in the blood. You can tell a lot by looking at your blood. Your blood is supposed to be a certain color. Now, by playing around like how I'm demonstrating now, I discovered that I was low-grade anemic. Something I would have never been able to discover if I was using a pad and tampon because of the way it absorbs the blood and it gives a false kind of coloring here. So there's a lot you can tell by your blood, by the way a menstrual cup collects the blood. So let's talk about how do we insert a menstrual cup. There's 2 or 3 different kinds of folds. So right off the bat, you got to understand that washing hands is not something that COVID. You remember our grandmothers and whatever, they were obsessed. You got to wash your hands. You do your inspection, whatever. And COVID is kind of just reaffirmed the importance of eye hygiene of your hands, because you're more likely to infect your vagina with your dirty hands than you would with a menstrual cup. Wash it in a little bit of hot water or cold water. So please remember, I did not say use soaps or any chemicals. The idea is we're trying to make this as natural process as possible, and we're trying to stay away from chemicals. So we're washing it only with hot water. You wash your hands with soap and water. Your menstrual cup, just a bit of hot or cold water. So there's one of 3 folds. Either you do the C fold, which is pretty simple, or this is my favorite fold for us girls that have got long nails. Remember, the whole idea of your fold is to make the most efficient point
to insert.
That will help the insertion process. And then you get the 7 fold, or you get the pushed up. There's a couple, the young people.
You figure it out for yourself.
You figure it out and you see what works for you, right? So let's go to my favorite fold. My favorite fold is this because of my long nails. So I just make, there we go, got my little point. And now the moment of truth. This is exciting. Your vagina is a muscle. And when you are tensing up, this is what's going to happen to your vagina. You need that little flower open. You need those girls to be all excited about this journey that you're about to embark on. And all you have to do is breathe. You have to breathe. We talk about breathing and chilling. Now's the moment that you're going to have to do that. So you got your favorite fold. You're all relaxed. You elevate your leg. Or you squat, for those of you that are blessed with some physiques that can allow you to squat. Or you can, I prefer to do it in my shower. Some girls said I squat. Some says I just pick up my foot on a chair or whatever.
I just sit on the toilet and
okay.
Yeah, because I feel like it gets to the dip a bit better.
Okay. Whatever works for, So for me, I prefer to do it in the shower, so we're all relaxed. And now the moment of truth. So all you do is you literally insert it into your vaginal canal. Now this whole thing goes in. No need to be scared because it intersects here with your cervix. It only can go as high as
the cervix.
So there is no need to worry. My young girls at school says, oh, but what if it runs away and it goes into my stomach or it comes out into my ears they've also got that fear that it's going to move. Because of course with everything new, there's a fear of the unknown.
Yes.
So girls, you got to understand. Ladies, you got to understand. It fits the height of your cervix. So there's absolutely no fear. You got to fear being ignorant and not knowing options than fearing inserting a menstrual cup. So now you've inserted it, you've gone to school, you've gone to work all day. And if you're a regular bleeder, the rule of thumb is you can go up to 12 hours without having to empty it out. If you're a heavy bleeder, I generally say on the first day you use it, go out after 5 hours, take it out, which we're going to show you, and look at the quantity after 5 hours and say, okay, if it's this much after 5 hours, I'm going to empty it, I'm going to rinse it, and then I'm going to put it back in, and then now I'm going to go for 7 hours. So you will be able to understand and manage on your heaviest day. I need to empty it out after 5 to 7 hours. As we're progressing, maybe I'll stretch it to 10 hours. So you will understand your flow. Remember, this sits in your vaginal canal. When you need to go and do your bathroom business, does not need to be touched. You do your bathroom business, leaving this to mind its own business.
And for the ladies who are questioning, how do I know if it's full? right? When you go to the loo and you wipe, what I found is that you will get some moisture that comes from there. So you're going to wipe, and then as you wipe away, you will see a little bit of blood. And that gives you an indication that, okay, now it's time to just dip everything out and change it. Let's say I am at work, I am in a public space, and I need to do a change. How can I make that more comfortable for myself? Because I mean, in stalls, we don't have a basin, you don't have a sink with you. What is the best option that you can, recommend to people?
Well, there's two ways, right? Some ladies that know that they're heavy bleeders. I've got quite a lot of ladies that travel around the country. They are sales managers, so they got to stop at all the petrol stops and whatever. They just take their bottle of water and they make provision for the change that they know they have to have while on their trips to Durbans or Limpopos or whatever. But for the kids that's saying, suddenly, I need to change it for whatever reason, and there is no water in the changing, in the bathrooms at school or whatever, what I would do, which I have done before when I have traveled to the Northwest Province, on the way back, I had to stop for a change. I literally took it out, emptied it. I took a little piece of toilet roll because while I was emptying it, in case just to clean my hands, and then I emptied it out. I cleaned the outside a bit. I put it on. When I went home, I took it out, I washed it, and I did the necessary. That process of emptying it out and just having a little piece of toilet paper or tissue, whatever you have on you, just to, if you need to, clean around the sides. But otherwise...
And I do believe if somebody does have concerns regarding that, we wipe with tissue paper. Please, Mrs. Lungi, jump in if there is a concern in terms of physical wellness, right? But I would think even in between pads or tampon changing, I wipe with tissue. I make sure my hands are clean and I insert the tampon with a finger. So the thought of wiping the actual menstrual cup with a tissue, that shouldn't be too much of a concern.
No, as long as there's no residue of the tissue left around the menstrual cup.
Yeah, to just avoid. So your discernment is required in that regard. So just make sure you're using a clean tissue paper, you're making sure that there aren't pieces of tissue left behind, and that your hands are still clean. All right, and then how do we pull the cup out?
How do we remove it? This is called the stem. You put it up the stem, right to the edge. It's called the base. Remember when you inserted it, it formed a suction. And that suction held it in place so that when you're swimming, when you're gymming, whatever, when you're sleeping and lying down, that there's no backflow. So when you've inserted, it created that vacuum that's allowed it to stay put, to stay in place. Now, what we need to do is we need to pinch just above the stem. When you pinch above the stem, it breaks the suction. And then you're able to take it out, empty it, or in your toilet or in your basin, rinse your hand, insert it, and then you be on your merry way. And for the young ladies that we often see, but if I put a menstrual cup, yes, I understand it's safe, but it's going to stretch my vagina muscle and I won't be able to pleasure my boyfriend and he's going to leave me. Ladies, let's talk. This is your vagina. You have a say. Would you rather be using dangerous products because you fear?
We did speak about knowing the quality of your blood and learning how to connect with yourself physically. I think this is why, as POW, we were very interested to collaborate for this conversation, because we are about prioritizing our wellness. But knowing yourself from the inside out is one of the most important things to me. So what is it that women really do need to pay attention to? Those who aren't afraid to use the cup, who do use it, when I'm about to pour it out, what should I look at? What are the signs that are going to say this is a cause for alarm, or I should look for some medical assistance?
One of the things that I encouraged the ladies that, are within the sisterhood of the organization that I mentioned earlier is that we're going to journal our periods every month or every cycle, right? Just so that you can take note of certain things, patterns, your mood, how you're feeling, any pains, and so forth. So with the cup, right, because it is blood, right, the most important thing that you need to be mindful of is the quantity, right? The quantity of the blood and also the color, like Dr. Ruth mentioned. Is it crimson, dark crimson red? Is it like a maroon? Is it pink? Is it watery? Are there any clots, right? So those are very important to take note of. It's not normal as a woman also to, bleed for more than 10 days. In fact, anything beyond 7 days is considered not normal.
One of the comments, a lady said to me that she discontinued trying to use the cup because she kept overflowing out of it. And she said it was too messy for her inserting and taking out. So given that we've seen how much we actually bleed, if the issue is not the size, maybe she got a small,
got the wrong.
because now these come in small, medium, and large because we're not anatomically the same size. If you didn't know, not all women are the same size in their vaginal canals. So you have to actually know, am I a small, am I a medium, or am I a large?
Right. But you see, also with the cup insertion, when you don't understand how to insert it, it could be, because we are proper regulated manufacturers, we know what we're using. This is medical silicone. So we got to understand that your vagina is a warm, moist area. So the cup goes in and takes the shape of your vagina.
Yes.
So it's not the other way around. So if it's not correctly inserted, if it's a leak, that means somewhere it's sitting unpopped. So if you have a leak or a mess, it means it's unpopped. You need it to pop and it creates this vacuum. So there we go. It's sitting there and there's no way you can get it out.
And in order to pop it, in the instructional pack, you just twist. You just twist that around. And what that will do is eventually just unpop. But if it wasn't the cup size that was the issue, what could she then look into in terms of diagnosing what the issue may be?
It's very concerning for me to hear that even putting on the cup is very messy. We do bleed, but it shouldn't be gushing of blood, clottings that you are seeing, right? So that is definitely something to be alert for, right? It's a red flag that needs further investigation or seeking medical attention. So that is, no. Heavy menstrual bleeding is definitely not.
So that's a sign. So they just go to their clinic or go to a gynecologist and have that checked out.
Yeah.
Are we allowing ourselves to take full ownership over our physical wellness, our vaginas, our menstrual health? I love the menstrual cup. I really do. At first, I was apprehensive. It looks very challenging, but it's soft. It's pliable.
Yeah.
A tampon, you can feel it. It's hard. It's a cotton ball inside of you. When it's full, you feel it. But I've had moments where I forget that I have the cup in.
Absolutely.
I go about my day and I've completely forgotten until I feel a bit of moisture and I go, oh, I have to go change. Yeah. So I would challenge you. Go and be curious. Go and see what are the options out there for you. You've seen how to insert it, how to take it out, how to keep it clean. But again, let's take ownership over our bodies. Let's care about what we're doing with our vaginas outside of pleasing someone else or giving birth to life. We need to start owning what this organ means to us as menstruating people.
So I think it's also important to understand that not all menstrual cups are created equal.
Sis Luni, we've had such a beautiful demonstration of the menstrual cup in comparison to the pad and the tampon. But I am pretty sure that there are some ladies out there who are still very apprehensive, who do feel like I am not that intimate with my vagina, all right? Maybe it's putting the fingers up or just feeling a little bit scared about the size. Because this conversation is about us identifying all of the alternatives. What other alternatives can you mention, even though we don't have them in front of us today? However, that women can look at. I, as a mother as well, would like to know, what options do I have? Because my daughter is 9 years old, but she has a friend who also at 9 has started her period. And I think it's quite daunting to try and teach a 9-year-old how to use a menstrual cup, especially when we're talking about hygiene and things of that nature. So what are the other alternatives that are safe, that do not have compromising chemicals in them, that we as South African women can look into?
So something that also sort of falls in the same category as a menstrual cup is something called the menstrual disc. So I don't know if it's something that
I heard about that in a comment.
Yeah.
Please do give us more information about that.
I mean, I don't know much about a menstrual disc. I've never personally used it, but it is also, it falls in the same category as a menstrual cup. It's also medical grade. Period panties, this is also quite important for you to, have a deep dive into the kind of material because remember,
Exactly.
it's fabric, right?
Yes, which could be very similar to the fabric in front of us now.
Exactly. So, there are natural fibers like cotton, like bamboo. So what you need to look out for is that, is it organic? Does it not have any harmful dyes or dioxins, and is it not bleached and things like that? So very important to look out for those things. And then there's also cotton or fabric rather, reusable pads.
Yes.
Okay, I know our grandmas and moms back in the days used to,
Cloth.
Yes.
Yeah, roll up the cloth and then, you wash it.
And wash, and we used to shun upon all of those things because we go, oh my gosh, it's so much work. But there are
a range of different things.
Available, yeah.
And just if I could jump in there, Mona, and just say there is a lot of myths around. So one of the myths that we need to debunk amongst many is that young girls like are 14 and 15 and 16 that are still virgins, whether inserting a menstrual cup and using a menstrual cup would interfere with the virginity or cause her to not be a virgin. Scientifically and medically, absolutely not. The hymen sits in a very different position to where the vaginal canal is, and it's just penetration is what causes a girl to lose her virginity, number one. Number two, also about using a menstrual cup is going to cause your vagina to stretch. Absolutely not. And then lastly, this is by far the most low maintenance period product because it's non-porous, it's medical grade silicone. You would see the blood just pours out. You literally need half a cup of water, and just to ensure you clean the two vacuum holes there, make sure there's no blood that's hiding in these holes. Otherwise, it is the most low maintenance period product.
Absolutely. I realized that touching my vagina or touching my menstrual blood had a negative effect on me. Ooh, gross blood, as a grown woman who's constantly, who's been menstruating since she was 14. And that is why I love this product, however, because it forced me to really sit down and interrogate that. Why am I grossed out by a natural, physical, biological process? And the more I did that, though, with every cycle that I have now, it is an intentional action that I go about when I'm taking it out. I am paying attention.
We said that it's the shedding, right?
Yeah.
Of the endometrial lining of your uterus. So it's basically just your body resetting, renewal.
Letting go of the old, ushering in the new.
Exactly. So just the understanding. And I think that's also quite important, knowing what happens. Yeah.
I am so grateful that we were able to have this conversation today. And I know that I've learned a lot, especially about how much we actually bleed. That shocked me. Thank you. Because I was like at least 2 liters a day. But for those who want to grab themselves a menstrual cup, Ruth, please let us know, where can they get one? How much do they retail for? And then Sis Lindy, if you could just let us know if somebody wants to be in touch with you because they want to get a physical examination or they just want more information medically on what they're going through in their own menstrual cycle, how can they contact you?
So to get a ShePower menstrual cup where you could choose the colors and the color of these cases, maybe Mona should hold up these gorgeous cases here. Lungi can hold up one and we just show them how gorgeous these cases are.
Stunning.
So you go to www.shepowher. So that is www.shepowher.co.za, or you can call our helpline for any more information about what we've been talking about on 072 535 6478. 072 535 6478.
Thank you so much.
You can get me on Instagram, simply lungi.gamede, or my other page on Instagram called With Sis. But otherwise, where She Power is, I'm also there.
Ladies, I really hope that we were able to inform you today and you've got some nuggets of wisdom on how to navigate your menstrual cycle moving forward and what options are available to you. So for the rest of you who want to join the conversations that the POW Sessions will be having, please follow me at POW Sessions, at POW Sessions, one word, on Instagram, or check out my website, www.powbymona.com. That's www.powbymona.com. And that was me, Mona Munyani, CEO of POW. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.